One of the crown jewels in the vintage car racing season takes place in late autumn here in Palm Springs, California. The historic races that reverberate through the dry desert air feature any and every make and configuration of race car that has scorched the asphalt of racing's most revered venues: Riverside, Sebring, Le Mans, Daytona, and countless others. We visited the Palm Springs Vintage Race Weekend in November of 1990 to get a good solid dose of nostalgic overload. Because, as is the custom, a different racing marque is highlighted and saluted at this event every year. And in 1990, there was a horsepower glut at Palm Springs, California of immense proportion. The featured marque, the fabulous, fast, and unflinching creations of Carroll Shelby. Shelby was unable to make the event himself since he was home recovering from a heart transplant. But his name was truly well represented. The Carroll Shelby story would require much more time than we have here to be told properly. It's one part Horatio Alger, one part Wyatt Earp, and a splash of traveling medicine show. Mike Donovan of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, the proud owner of a Shelby Mustang, gave us a quick overview of what made the name Shelby synonymous with high performance.
Carroll Shelby started it all in 63 and 64, putting American V8 and an English chassis, and that became the Cobra. And then in 65, he started, took a 2+2 Mustang fastback, and with his conversions of special shocks, suspension, intake manifold, converted and started the first Shelby GT350s, of which 532 were made. And they were all started as a Mustang 2+2. And he changed rear ends, transmissions, aluminum intake manifolds, a special carburetor, special shocks, and sway bars.
Seeing an original Shelby Cobra or GT350 or GT500 Mustang drive by can be a real rush. What must owning one be like?
Oh, you think of Carroll Shelby, you think of the Mustang, the success of the Mustang, and it's part of that success, and even more so being a limited production model. And you've got a car that has a tremendous history, the Mustang itself, and then you have even a more special segment of that car in a limited edition Shelby GT350.
The racing history of the cars of Carroll Shelby gives new meaning to the word dominant. The Cobra has always been one thoroughly untamed reptile. They were essentially built with 260, 289, 427, and 428 cubic inch Ford V8s. Street racers hated the Cobra, except if they happened to be driving one. And on the track, both the Cobras and GT350s, especially the 1965 and 1966 model GT350s, won so many production championships in so many sanctioning bodies for almost a decade that it borders on the ludicrous. And just about everyone knows that the Ferrari name held a stranglehold on the world manufacturer's title for GT cars for season upon season until 1965, when Shelby's Cobras rode into town. And Shelby's GT350 Mustangs dined on many a Corvette in the SCCA's B production class during the mid-60s. One thing that all vintage Shelby owners share in common is a hearty desire to drive their cars just as hard as they can, which might seem a little bit foolish when you consider their current value. For instance, if you had $7,000 back in 1966 and listened to Mom and put the money in the bank at 5% annual interest, today your balance would show about $15,000. Now, if instead of listening to Mom, you listened to your libido and bought a 427 Cobra with your $7,000, your money would now have multiplied to over $200,000, if you were wise enough to keep the Cobra.
I've owned this particular car in one state or another for about 25 years.
Worth a little more now than it was when you bought it.
Boy, that's for sure. It started off as a real bad wreck. It was destroyed, essentially.
Well, after a full day of pushing these powerful, priceless playthings to their ultimate potential, it's back to the paddock and not a portfolio. Because the supreme tribute to Carroll Shelby is having the time of your life in one of the cars that bears his name, Shelby. See ya at the next race.